So welcome everyone to today's webinar, Sar'h in Glastonbury and Sar'h as the Holy Grail. I have been tuning in to all sorts of interesting things this year, even though it's only, what's the date today? 25th of January. I've been doing readings and looking into this and that and the other. So I'll try and make sure that I fit it all in to the time allocated. But before I start, let's just come into sacred space together. So take a nice deep breath and just feel your body relax. And all of us are coming into Sarah's sacred circle together. That's all the people who are here live today. So many beautiful souls who've come along to share this event. Thank you for being here. And also all of the beautiful souls who will be watching it on the replay because they couldn't be here live today. All of us are coming into Sarah's sacred circle together. And you can imagine, just for fun and just because it's nice, that you're sitting somewhere really beautiful, somewhere really lovely where you like being. Could be somewhere out in nature. It could be some really cozy place where you love being. It could be somewhere in your imagination, a temple in Atlantis, a crystal cave, something magical under the ocean, anything, something out in the cosmos, anything that feels lovely to you right now. And we're going to invite in Sar'h right into the center of the circle. And Sarah's coming in now as a pillar of light. She's coming in and she's grounding our circle. So many of us come up and out. I think of it as standing on tiptoes. When we're busy, when we're stressed, when things feel a bit difficult emotionally. And Sar'h we invite her in and she just helps us drop down a little bit. And she also expands our energy. Sar'h also expands our energy. So she's putting us in a good place to listen and concentrate as well as we can today, including me. And also expanding us up into those higher dimensions. So Sarah's energy is going to be supporting us through today's webinar, and we'll be building up layers and layers of energy. And then at the end, we're going to go a bit more deeply and do a meditation journey. So I'm going to share my screen and bring up the first slide now. So we have a beautiful picture here of the tour. This is some photographer called Sam Binding. He's got a website, sambinding.co.uk, with loads of gorgeous prints of the tour. And I particularly like this one because of the light that it's shining. And I'll be talking more about why I like this so much a bit later. We also have a picture on the other side by Cheryl Yambrak Rose, who actually painted the Sar'h that I have as well. And Cheryl lives some of the time in Glastonbury, and she's painted Sar'h here at Wearial Hill. And she has the tour just behind her. But this is the tour without St. Michael's Mount on top of it, which was once more of a substantial building, I believe. This is what's left of it. You can see it on the other side. And then in the middle, I have some pictures of the places where we're going to be visiting in Glastonbury later this year. So that's welcoming you all to this webinar today. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. So I know that some of you know lots about Sar'h that are here today and have been working with me for years. And then I know that some of you here, maybe you've come along because you feel interested, but perhaps you haven't had the chance yet to find out much about Sar'h. So I'm going to be given a little bit of information because we're all at different places. I'm going to be talking about Sar'h in Glastonbury. And you might notice that I'm using the words Avalon and Glastonbury interchangeably. And that's because there is a strong energy of Avalon in Glastonbury. We're going to be talking about what it means to be the Holy Grail and what it means that Sar'h is the Holy Grail. I've put on there Sar'h channeling. I don't know, usually when I'm going along and I'm chatting away, suddenly I get, okay, Sar'h wants to say something now. So I don't know when that will be. She will come in at some point and want to say something. And as I said before, we're going to be having a journey meditation with Sar'h. So for the people who have just joined, oh, because I'm just reading Cheryl really loves writing poetry. She writes beautiful poetry. And she's written, yippee, yippee, we're going to Glastonbury. So much there for you to see. A sacred space for one and all, hidden for those who fall. Bursting with the energy of the Grail, step inside the space and be hailed. A glorious day for one and all. Now go out and stand tall. Blessings from Cheryl in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Cheryl. I know you just wrote that spontaneously, didn't you? It's incredible how you get it to rhyme and everything. It's a real gift. That's a real gift, Cheryl. So people have just joined. I've got everyone muted, but please write your comments and thoughts in the chat because I would love to see them, and it keeps the conversation fresh as well. So it's not just me talking monotone all the time. So please come and add in. So Glastonbury in the UK, it's in the southwest of England, and there's quite a few special places in the southwest of England. There's also Stonehenge and Avebury. Bath is an incredibly ancient town built along sacred geometry and has some lovely geothermal springs where you can actually go and bathe in the water. So southwest of England, great place to go and visit if you haven't been there before. There are legends in Glastonbury, so many legends, and I'm going to mention a very small amount of them today. But one of the legends is that the Holy Family have been present in Glastonbury. And Sar'h has a really strong presence in Glastonbury. Just realised I haven't introduced myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Goodwin. I have channeled Sar'h since 2006, the year after I came back from the Big Island in Hawaii. And I was initiated in Glastonbury as a priestess of the goddess around 21, 22, I think 22 years ago by Chalice Well. It's an incredible place, Glastonbury. It's a really incredible place. The land energies are phenomenal. And it's a place where I've been to many, many times. In the years where I lived in England, I live in Denmark now. And when I lived there, I would collect water from the spring every time I visited. And then every week I would have a bath with water in from the springs. And I did that, I don't know how many times, for years, until I felt like it was in my bones, until it became part of me. And it's been some years now since I've been to Glastonbury. Definitely not since I moved to Denmark. I live in another sacred power place now, a town called Roskilde in Denmark. It's not as famous as Glastonbury. We have lots of springs here and lots of ley lines and power places and all sorts of things going on here as well. But yeah, I mean, going back to the years where I went to Glastonbury, it became for me, my mum died when I was 26, and Glastonbury became for me a place where I would go to if my mum had been here, I would have been going home to my mum. But instead, I would book a bed and breakfast and go off down to Glastonbury. And I would drive down there. And when I caught sight of the tool, I'll get really excited. I'll be like jumping up and down in my car seat going, hello, hello, I've come, I'm here. And for many years, I didn't really know why I was doing this. But I felt I'd made a promise and that I was fulfilling this promise somehow by keep coming back. Yeah. Yeah. And these were in the years before Sar'h. I connected with Sar'h, 2006. I went to Hawaii in 2005 on the Big Island. Incredible energies there of the volcano. Oh, sorry. Zoom's just asking me if I'm speaking Spanish. No, I'm not speaking Spanish. I wonder why it's asking me that. Speaking English. Okay. And where was I? I've forgotten what I was talking about now. That was completely unexpected. Am I speaking Spanish? It's like, oh, I've been, someone's written, you should also visit Kauai. I've been to Kauai. The Big Island was the first place that I went to, which has all the fire and, the power of the lava flow and Pele. It connected very, very strongly to Pele. Oh, that was it. So I connected to Sar'h in 2006 when I was actually teaching a workshop on the the place of sanctuary in the big island of Hawaii, which is this amazing portal place. And Sarah came through when I asked for a channeling for some wisdom for us. Sarah came through, and I think it was probably a year or two before I got down to Glastonbury again. But when I did, I went in crisis. I was in a time of my life where things were falling apart. I'm sure all of us have been there. You know, things were bad. Things were really, really bad. And I was in a real state. And I think Sarah had been around for a year or two. And when I got there, my phone wouldn't work. As soon as I booked into St. Michael's, which is a place actually within Chalice Well Gardens itself. So Chalice Hill Gardens are sort of, if you can see the tour behind me in the screen, it's at the base, kind of. It's actually on the back of Chalice Hill, but which is like the female energy. And I'd booked into there, and my phone just stopped working. And it was in those days where we had, it was my eldest son told me, they're called brick phones. They're what we had. They're what we had before smartphones, and it stopped working. And because I was trying to send text messages to someone, and it was just like the universe decided, like, no, you need to be here. You need to stop, you know, trying to communicate with the outside world because you're just being in a state anyway. So I went out to the gardens and I just sort of started talking to Sarah. It's quite possible, because I was staying in St. Michael's, you can be there when everybody else is gone. It's quite possible that I was actually talking out loud to her because nobody would have been around. But what really surprised me was that Sarah started talking back. And, you know, I'm a channel, which means that, you know, to a certain extent, I do hear voices, but they're in my head. But there was this really profound difference, because it was like she was actually talking to me like she was there. And yeah, I mean, it was quite eerie. It was quite eerie to start off with. It was a bit of a shock because I hadn't had that happen before, but I was in too much of a state to care anyway. And you know, it was really helpful what she was saying to me. And the thing is that since then, I've had a number of people write to me and say they have experienced the same thing. And there's a reason for that. And I'll be talking about that. So let's go back a bit to, like, well, who is Sarah? Who is Sarah? And this is my take. Okay, this is like based on my experiences, what has come to me, the channelings that I've done. I have two books. There's Sarah's Little Book of Healing, that's been around for years, and I have Weaving the Strands of Sar'h. I'm going to drop a load of links into the chat box. And if you want to find any of those books, there's a link there on the American Amazon, but you can buy them on any of the Amazons. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I could do a whole hour and a half. Just going to give you a little feel. So Sarah, she is an ascended master for the new earth. And I see her as the daughter archetype. And, you know, What does that mean? Well, oh, sorry. There we go. The daughter archetype. If we think of films like The Hunger Games, if we think of Katniss, if we think of The Whale Rider, there's this beautiful film. It's a New Zealand film, came out some years ago, about a young girl who, well, I won't tell you that because that would be a bit of a plot spoiler. It's about the land where she lives and the culture that she's living in, and there's whales in it, and it's amazing. And her name is Kahu Pakia in the story, and she is coming up against like the fierce patriarchal attitude that girls can't learn the sacred wisdom of the tribe. And if you haven't seen it, please find it online and rent it. It's really worth watching. And when I've seen it, I usually cry all the way through. But she's also the daughter archetype. The title of the film is The Whale Rider. And these daughter archetypes, they're really in their power as women. They are in touch with their emotions and they're in touch with their strength. And they are responding to situations in a way that, so if someone is wounding you, then you feel wounded and you express it. I would also say that Sar'h also holds that energy of being gender neutral, or can do. And that is because she is the expression of the sacred marriage. Mary Magdalene, the divine feminine, and Yeshua, the divine masculine, they come together. And through the sacred marriage, Sar'h is born, and she holds the Christ-like in oneness. So divine masculine, divine feminine are in harmony within Sar'h. It's not one over the other. They're working together beautifully. Her soul and spirit and her body, all in oneness. She's the next generation. She's the next generation. And since I started working with her in 2006, working with her back then, it was almost like working with an echo. She was there, she was coming through, but it was a bit like when you throw a stone into the water and the ripples spread out. It was like I was connecting with her through the ripples rather than from the place where the stone had gone in the water. And then over the years, we've got closer and closer to her presence, where she's actually here. Now, she's here very strongly through all of the layers, and a lot of ascended masters are up much higher in the ethers. Sar'h is very, very present, especially in the etheric. And, you know, the etheric, I mean, it is virtually the physical plane anyway, for people who are sort of interested in all these sort of different vibrational dimensions and stuff. That probably means something to you. She also turns up quite interestingly as Sar'h Lakali, who is the patron saint of the Romani people. And in the links that I've dropped into the chat box, in Wikipedia there's an interesting thing about Saint Sarah. She's not a Catholic saint. There is a Catholic saint called Saint Sarah. It's a different Sarah. Saint Sarah, where I've put the link here, and who is the Romany patron saint of the Romany people. Again, she has some different legends around her. And I won't go into it now because it's another whole thing in herself, but it's interesting how Sarah seems to hold these different aspects, which seems quite different, and yet she holds them all together. And I think she can do that because she's in oneness. It's the same with her energy being able to be in very high places and then right down in physical sort of layers of the earth as well. So when I was saying about in 2006, it was like an echo in time. Now it's almost here. And it's partly, I feel, so we've done quite a lot of work over the years, working with the New Earth grid, working with energy lines and ley lines across the earth, and really bringing her energy. She works with us to do these things in groups, obviously. Also, she's connecting with more and more people all the time. And so we're like bringing her energy down into the earth as well, because we're the earth. And that might sound a bit strange, but if you think about Sarah as an archetypal force, an archetypal power of oneness, and this is our next step in our evolutionary development, it starts to make a bit more sense. But Sarah, she's like a face. She's a face to the new earth, to our next evolutionary development. Now, let me just check on my slides, because oh yeah, okay, yeah, because there's a number of things I could start talking about next, and I'll try and stick to my plan of what I'm going to talk about next. So let me just share my screen again. Yeah, okay. I was in doubt then. Is it the right one? It's the right one, Rachel. Believe in yourself. I want to read out to you a channeling called Sarah is the Key, because it kind of says like what I've just been talking about. So just close your eyes and just listen with your whole body. See how this feels to you. Sarah is the key. This is a channeling from Sarah. And she says, there is much that needs to be said about life as it is in this day and age. Much that needs to be understood about the dynamics that are at play in the society in which you live. Much that when it is understood and you see the truth of what is really happening, you will find that you naturally do something quite different. That your old behaviors, thoughts, and feelings are no longer what they once were, and are irrevocably changed just from realizing the conscious understandings that I have come to give you. There is a new way to live, a new way to be. It is manifesting on the earth now, and the earth is being made anew. It is a new beginning. It is the age of Aquarius coming to pass, and you are all instrumental in this occurrence. It is why you are all here. Each of you has your perfect part to play, and these parts to be played are hidden away in the desires of your hearts and souls. I am the key. I can be the key for you to unlock these mysteries, finding the divinity within you and the magic of knowing these truths of who you are and what you are to do firsthand. Experiencing them directly for yourselves. Then you can know them. Then you can manifest them. Then you can be exactly as you are, the divine's hands and feet here on the earth. I am Sar'h, come to teach you ways of being who you are. May blessings come down upon you each and every moment of your lives. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Amen. So just give yourself a moment to take that in. You might want to just write down anything that came to you while you were listening to that. And I just want to draw your attention to the picture that is on this slide here. And this is another picture by Cheryl. And this is Sar'h in the White Spring, which is one of the places we'll be going to. I'm doing a retreat in Glastonbury in April, a Sar'h retreat. And this is Sar'h kneeling by the White Spring. And I actually have this picture at the end of my bed. And I get up every day and I do my energy exercises and meditations with Sar'h in front of me. Yeah. Sarah's here to support us on our evolutionary journey. Her presence is catalytic, and to be in her presence is to come into oneness. Her presence acts upon all of our energy bodies and also our DNA. But it only acts upon us insofar as what we can manage with. It acts upon us sort of one bit at a time. So it has a healing intelligence. It doesn't suddenly bring us into oneness, because if we did that all at once, we'd just explode or implode, because we wouldn't be able to process it all. It would be way, way too much. So when we sit in Sarah's presence, it's always working on the bit that needs to happen now, so that the next bit can happen, and the next bit can happen, and the next bit can happen, and so on and so forth. Now, let me just feel in and check in with Sarah, see how she thinks we're doing, see if she wants to say anything or bring anything in. So I have two ways that I connect, well, more than two really, but two of the ways that I connect with Sarah. One is where I open up to channel and I go into an altered state of consciousness and words come through. And the other one is I sort of like, I have her on my shoulder. This is how I call it. And I just check in with her. And that's what I'm doing now. I just sort of say, you know, is this something you want to say, sort of thing. Yeah, so a little bit more about Glastonbury. That's where she's directing me, is to talk about that bit again. So I was saying that I got initiated as a priestess in Glastonbury 22 years ago or so. And one of the legends that sort of comes with Avalon having been in Glastonbury is, if any of you have read The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. It's quite a few decades old now, that book, but it tells a story of the old religion and the old ways, and of the Lady of the Lake, of the priestesses of Avalon, of Arthur having to go through the test of the sacred and initiation, test and initiation of the sacred marriage. And so I was saying, when I used to drive down to Glastonbury, I would be there bouncing up and down in the seat of my car whilst driving, and saying, "Oh, I'm back, I'm back. You know, I've come, I've promised." And I'm not the first person to have come to this conclusion, but through the dreams that I've had, through the meditations that I've done, it's a very felt experience for me that I've lived there before and was a priestess of Avalon. And in that story of Avalon is that it was taken into the mists. It was taken into the mists and was pulled back from ordinary reality. And so one time I remember climbing up the side of the Tor to where there's an egg stone, and sitting up there and being guided to journey into the Tor, which I did. There were some dragons there guarding it, and I went into the heart of the Tor, and something kind of came out of me energetically, and it was like a key, and I put it into the center of the Tor and turned it, and then some light was released. And I think many people get called back to Avalon, Glastonbury, to do something that releases something there, because there was this time where we locked something away, and now it's the time for it to be released again. So there's an incredible, like, mythical quality about Glastonbury that is a lived and felt experience for many people. And so, you know, I suppose you could say that sort of belongs in the pagan spirituality. Priestesses of Avalon and Lady of the Lake and swords being pulled out of stones and whatnot, Merlin. And then there's also legends in Glastonbury. So there's a legend that Joseph of Arimathea took the Holy Grail and buried it on the side of the Tor. And then that's where the Chalice Well spring started flowing, when he buried it there. I'm just trying to think of her name. Diane Fortune. She wrote her some sort of memoirs, really, of when she used to travel down to Glastonbury from London. Dion Fortune. Dion Fortune. Dion Fortune was an amazing woman who was alive at the beginning of the 19th century. Is that right? Yeah. So I get my centuries mixed up because the numbers are at the beginning of the 1900s. She was alive, and she changed her name to Dion. Actually, the name she was baptized with was Violet. When I read that, I was like, wow. If I was ever going to change my name to something, it would be Violet, because I love working with the violet flame so much. But Dion Fortune, she trained as a psychoanalyst, and she set up a practice in London. And she was really good, and she was doing really, really well. And then the medical profession managed to change it so that you had to be a member of the medical profession in order to practice, of which she was not. So she had to give up her practice. But actually, she set up a mystery school. And through the Second World War, and this was all done, like now we've got the internet. Now I get to do things by webinars. She was doing it all by letter. She sent out letters to all the people that joined her mystery school, and they worked together to kind of combat the forces of evil, if you like, or the darkness that comes up in humanity, or, they were there like bringing in transformation and healing for everyone. And she was really amazing. Anyway, sorry, I diverged there. Dion Fortune, she has a book about Glastonbury. I've got it somewhere. And there's some really lovely descriptions in there. There's also a little bit here and there where you can sort of really see she was a person of her culture at the time. Fair enough. The reason why it came up in my head was there was like stones. There was like ancient, like there was a standing stone by the spring. And you can find that written about in books and stuff. But so it's quite an old and ancient place, shall we say. I went and lived in Glastonbury for a while. Not that long before I ended up moving to Denmark anyway. And yeah, it was at another point where my life this time had really fallen apart for good. I mean, there was just nothing left of it. It was completely dissolved. And I know some of you will understand this and some of you will think, what is she talking about? But I'll say it anyway. So there's these mistresses of fate called the Norns in Nordic mythology. And I sense everything as energy. Like energy is more apparent to me than anything else, than my visual senses or my hearing, anything. Like everything, like energy, it's just really strong. And I woke up one morning and like literally, the Norns, or whatever thing you want to call it, had come in and they had cut all the strings of my life between me and everything else. It had all been dissolved, and I was living in Surrey at the time. And I woke up and I was just, I just couldn't believe it. I just never experienced anything like that. And I did 2 years of Sar'h training with an amazing and wonderful woman called Imelda Almquist, who is Dutch. She's from the Netherlands. She lives in the UK. She's married to a Swedish guy, and they have a farmhouse out in Sweden. And I went and did 2 years training with her. And she was talking about the Norns and saying this can happen, but usually when people's like energy lines between them and everything in their life is cut, it's because they're going to die. And I really feel at that point in my life, I was facing death. And I knew that I had to imagine my whole life, or that was it, basically. I mean, I feel quite emotional just talking about it now. It's still really with me. So I went and rented a room in Glastonbury, and I was there for about 6 months, and I would just walk the landscape every day. I didn't do a whole lot of socializing. I wasn't there to join a community or anything like that. I was there to be in the land, because for me, that is why it's Avalon. It's the land. It's a sacred landscape. It's alive. It's awake and conscious. And there are parts of it that hold some quite dark energy. And of course it does. You know, the oversoul of humanity holds quite dark energy. You know, we're not all love and light. And so in power places, you get these places where they hold quite, where energy almost like if you think of like water flowing along a river, there's going to be places where if you get blockages, things will get stuck. And that if it's, you know, it can sort of get more and more, because it's a landscape with people, things can get polluted in a way. And if it can't get cleared up, it gets more and more tricky. And nearly all power places have this problem. And then earth workers, or earth engineers, as I call them, light workers, shadow workers, whatever word you sort of want to use, you know who you are, the people that do this work. We get called to come along, often in groups, but it's never one person working alone. Spirit always makes sure that there's a number of people, and we start clearing this out, because this is our mess. This is humanity's mess. But again, this is another subject, so I'll just stop there. But I just wanted to make the point that it's the land. It's really the land. There's so much enlightened consciousness of the earth. And that's why it's so amazing. And, you know, these ley lines and things coming in, there's the Michael line and the Mary line and other things like feeding it and keeping it going. But yeah, so that legend about Joseph of Arimathea with the Holy Grail, and then we have legends about the Holy Family being there. And yeah, again, I've really experienced that. There's a place called St. Margaret's Chapel where we'll be meeting there actually in the retreat. You walk in there and it's on the Mary ley line, and like for me it's like she's actually there. Like when I first started going in there, it was so dilapidated in there. It was really scruffy and plaster peeling off, and I didn't care. I shut down, and I would sit on a chair, close my eyes and shut my eyes, and it was like just the most beautiful energy. It's much better cared for and honoured now, which is lovely. But the energy is not any better. It's just as gorgeous as it always was. So that's a really special place. Also the Catholic church next door, I've stood in the lobby there, and it's got the same energy going through it, but it's not, they don't keep the doors open, unfortunately. So it's not so easy to get in there. And yeah, so we have places where the Magdalene is very present. There's also some etheric temples, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. Let me just tune in again. Right, I should look at my slides now. Follow my slide. Ah, yeah, okay, all right. So now I did a reading for 2024 with stuff from Sar'h. And this is some points from that. And if you want to listen to the whole thing, it's on my YouTube channel, which is in those in the chat box, all the links that I've dropped in there. You can subscribe to the channel. Just pulling out a couple of points that are interesting for us today with talking about Glastonbury and what work Sarah is calling us to do this year. The first thing that came up was that we were, and I mean, obviously not just last year, but that it reached a sort of point of intensity last year of us being cleansed by, I've called it the evolutionary fire of ascension, which sounds a bit dramatic. But it's the best words that I can find to put on it, because that is something that I really experience and see around the earth, almost like as a, is it nimbus? Is that the right word? But it's like this sort of like, if I was going to put a colour on it, it would be like pearlescent, I think, like white pearlescent. And that's been emptying out our cup and our chalice. And so it's more likely now to hear people saying that they're moving through their stuff, or they're starting to, or they can see a point where things are really shifting and changing. It's not the same for everyone. I mean, we're all on different points of our journey, but I'm hearing that from more and more people. And I'm definitely experiencing that myself for the first time ever, actually. So it was particularly a thing about the emptying out of the cup and the chalice that I found interesting, because so I work a lot with runes. I live in Scandinavia. And Sarah, she's an ascended master for the New Earth. You can bring her into any culture, any spirituality that's ever existed on the earth, and she will come in and add her own like really interesting layer. So you don't have to feel like you can only chant in Arabic or something, or Aramaic, if you want to work with Sarah, because at one point she was, you know, Yeshua's daughter. She's an ascended master for the New Earth. I mean, if you want to chant in Aramaic, that's also fantastic. But you can bring her into anything. And I love working with the runes. And I've just been working with them deeply for some years now. And I like to channel specific rune sets. I really like making different runes, using different woods, carving them out with different colours. I have a rune set for the Blue Rose Oracle. I have a rune set for Sarah. I have an Ascension rune set, and I have my Nordic rune set. So I pulled a couple of runes for this webinar and said to Sarah, you know, what's it all about then? Because I find that, you know, I do these things, I get sort of compelled to do these things. And it's quite interesting to ask, like, so what's the deeper meaning of this? Because there's always a deeper meaning. So this was, so you can see my scribblings there. So I have a rune set of 33 runes. That is my Sarah rune set. I've channeled Sarah meanings for every single one. And I'm using the 24 runes of the Elder Futhark, which, if anybody is interested in like the details, that is the oldest rune set that we have. And then I've added in the runes from the Anglo-Saxon rune set and the Northumbrian rune set. And so the two runes that I pulled, I couldn't believe this when I did it. There's one called Dargas, which you can see, like I've put a line around it. Dargas, it's a figure 8, basically, carved with a knife. because you can't do curves with a knife. And the other rune is called calc. And that is, it's a cup. It's the, you know, and in the Sar'h rune set, it's the Holy Grail, obviously, because it's Sar'h. So I got these two runes, Dargas, this figure 8 that's carved with straight lines, and I've got calc. And yeah, I mean, it hasn't been easy these years, speaking personally and from speaking to other people that I know who are also working with their stuff. And I really love the simplicity of representing it as having emptied out our chalice so that we can fill it with basically Dargas. So Dargas in the Sar'h rune set is enlightenment. Dargas, day and night, were deities to the Old Norse. There was a god of day, and he was called like Day or Dargas. And so he's the coming of the light. And also you can see, if you look at those two runes, you can also see them as like calc, the chalice, like being your body. Earth, we're made of the earth. And then we fill it with heaven. We fill it with spirit. We fill it with the light of the Grail. So I really thought that was really beautiful. And then if I go back to the very first slide that I showed you of the tour, that photo that I said, oh, I just really love this photo by, what's his name, Sam Binding. That tour, the tour, St. Michael's, the building on top of the tour, it's like the chalice with the light all around it. It's like the Holy Grail. And so this is the thing with Sar'h. So like over and over, like over the years, it's like I've heard like Sarah's the Holy Grail, Sarah's the Holy Grail. It's like, you know, I've heard it like, you know, I just get things that I just hear. I hear like over and over again. And as I said, I'm an energy worker. I work with energy. I'm an energy technician. I devise techniques of doing stuff with energy. And we have a symbol, a channeled symbol that we work with that represents Sar'h and her archetypal force. And the interesting thing is when you work with it, it's a two-dimensional symbol. Energetically, it becomes three-dimensional and it turns into a cup. It turns into a chalice. And, you know, I only found this out by working with it over and over and over and over again. I used to offer a blessing chant service, and I would chant every week for someone, bringing Sarah's energy. I would visualize this symbol. I would put them in it, this symbol of Sarah's, and I would call it coming into Sarah's embrace. That's what I called it in my head. And then when they were in it, I could feel like stuff was starting to happen. It's like a cup of alchemy. And and I would chant. I do Sanskrit chants. I have a really strong connection to Sanskrit chants. I have pretty sure knowledge that I've done that many, many times in past lives. And when I do these chants, I can feel the energy starting to shift. And that's the amazing thing about these Sanskrit chants. They are so powerful. And all you have to do is keep doing it a bit every day. You don't even have to do it a lot. You just have to keep doing it a bit every day. So, you know, I was doing this thing. And then at some point it occurred to me, oh, so that cup, that's like the Holy Grail, isn't it? Hadn't occurred to me. It hadn't occurred to me. I was like, oh, okay. Oh my God, this is really interesting. And then at some point along the line, I realized that that symbol symbolized Sar'h, because it was Sar'h, that she's the Holy Grail. Now, I know there's lots and lots of ways of understanding the Holy Grail. This is my way of understanding the Holy Grail, because the other thing that Sar'h has been teaching me right from the beginning of contacting with her is to work with our divine spark. And again, this has come to me through the teachings of ancient India, working with something called the Hri Padma, which is the lotus, sacred lotus of the heart. And like going back to that picture of the tool with all the light behind it, our divine spark that we are generally not fully conscious of, because if we were, we'd be enlightened beings. That's what powers the Grail. That's what the Grail is holding. It's the container for that divine light. And that's why I love that light coming all around that amazing photographer that's taken all these amazing pictures of the tool. So let me have a look at my slides again and see. We've done that one, we've done that one. Yeah. We're getting there, guys and girls. So the reason why Sar'h in Avalon is such a thing that I keep talking about it over and over again over the years, because when these two energies come together, it's incredible. It's really incredible. So I've already said that I had the experience of her like physically like talking to me in the Chalice Well Gardens, and I have found that actually, and you might have found this as well, like when I've traveled to different places, some places just there's an instant connection and I'm like, oh, I've so had a past life here. And it's almost like all that time didn't happen in between me now and me then, that actually being there physically is much more powerful. And I think that's why Sarah's so present there, because she's been there physically. And I was shown in a journey one time that Sar'h was an magical adept that she trained in Avalon. And she was not only a magical adept, but she was really, really good at it. So she just like learnt it so fast. And, you know, in our culture, you know, I can't generalize for everybody, but just generalizing about the culture, we have a real suspicion of magic. So we're like, oh, shamans, you know, even within the New Age, shamans, that's fantastic. There's still quite a lot of like concern around magic and witchcraft and stuff like that. But actually, you know, and of course, you know, there's good people and bad people. So that means there's good witches and bad witches. There's good doctors and bad doctors. There's good shamans and bad shamans. Everything holds black and white, but witchcraft in itself is the indigenous shamanism of the West. And I was shown that Sar'h was a really talented magical adept and very powerful as a forest witch, nature magic. And nature energy is really one of Sarah's strengths. So I'll just talk quickly about some of the things we're going to do in the retreat. So the land itself is a sacred container. And then we're held within Sarah's alchemical chalice as well. And one of the first things we're going to do is ground our soul energies through our names. So this is something that I developed some years ago when I was working with runes. I was told as homework to write my name in runes. And when I did, I found that I could feel all the energy imbalances in it. And I was like, oh no, oh God. And I'd really tried to ignore it for a while. But I couldn't because it was my homework. And then, so I was like, well, I need to work with these runes. So I would chant the names of the runes. And I found that soul energy started to come in and blockages started to disappear. And I was like, what on earth is going on here? And then I started doing it for other people and found that it also worked. So that's something that we're going to do on the retreat in Glastonbury, is like ground our soul energies in. Really interestingly, after I'd done this for a couple of years, I came across a book by Ted Andrews, who is an amazing guy. He died some years ago, so I guess he was an amazing guy, but I mean, he's still living to me because his work goes on. He wrote a book about doing the same thing, but with the Hebrew letters. And I was like, this is amazing. This is really great. I wasn't just imagining it all. This is really, really happening. So it's a really powerful way of like making ourselves present and expressing our soul gifts. So that's one of the first things we're going to do. We're also going to get cleansing and purification from the white spring. And then the three other things, I can't mention everything obviously in the time, but the three other things is we're going to work with Sarah's Violet Flame Temple. So I was shown, and I've also seen other people talk about this as well, that the Holy Family actually planted like energetic seeds in the ley lines, like in the earth grid, for us to like discover when the time was right. And one of these seeds is Sarah's Violet Flame Spiral Temple, and it's on the tour. And we sort of activated that seed as a group. I meant to look this up, but I forgot. Maybe 4 years ago. Someone might know who was there if they're here. Someone's asking me, do I know the name of Ted Andrews? But I don't. But it's about working with your names. Yeah, and there was all these synchronicities happening and people suddenly writing to me, and we activated this Violet Flame Temple. And basically Sarah has her own vibration of the Violet Flame. It's a lilac violet flame, and this lilac violet temple, it is like, if we were sort of seeing it in a physical sense, it would be like a piece of technology. It is wearing out her vibration of the violet flame, which is specifically here to transform and transmute kind of 3D to 5D, meaning that very gently and slowly changing where we are into where we are going, like evolutionary, and it sends it out. Glastonbury is thought of as the heart chakra of the world, right? What does the heart do? The heart pumps out blood to the whole of the body sends it around and receives it back. Sarah's chakra, Sarah's violet flame spiral temple is at the heart center, and it's being pumped out around the whole of the world, and then it comes back. Anyway, one of the things we're going to do is go there, and because it's ready for an upgrade. And I was speaking to Louise, who's one of the Sar'h teachers. She teaches the healing system that Sar'h brought through me, and she said to me, "Oh, I got this message, Rachel. We've got to give an upgrade to the spiral temple." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited you said that, because that is exactly what I got as well." So that's a real definite that we're doing that. Another thing I'll just briefly mention is we're going to be finding out more information and working more with the Blue Rose lineage. Sar'h is the keeper of the Blue Rose flame. That's a whole other thing. And I know there was one more. What was the last thing? Let me just have a quick look. Oh yeah. And then the sort of the ultimate thing at the end of it is receiving an empowerment from Sar'h into our divine sparks. But I mean, you know, generally it's something to come to if you want to deepen your relationship with Sar'h in one of the most amazing places you could do it on the earth, to connect to her energy. I'll be teaching daily practices that you can do. All my practices are simple and quick because I have a very, very busy life. Got a son with special needs, so none of my practices involve sitting around for half a day. And we'll be chanting and experiencing things. And I'm also, because of my own sort of health issues that I've had, I'm really aware that people's energies can be in very, very different places. And so I'm going to build in processing time where we do something and then, okay, now it's time. Like, some people need to be away from everybody for a while. Some people need to go and have a really energetic walk. Some people need to go and have a coffee. I'm going to build these things into the retreat, so it's a bit more sort of manageable, really. I was going to talk about plant allies and nature magic. I don't think we've actually got the time, but I'll just mention briefly that elementals love Sar'h. Nature beings, go out for a walk in nature, call in Sar'h, see what happens. It's really amazing experience, because things happen between you and nature when you invite Sar'h into the equation. The last thing I'm going to talk about very, very quickly, and then we'll get into our journey, is, so this is an 8-year that we're in. 2024 is an 8-year, and I have a really good feeling about this year, and I know a lot of people do as well. I mean, of course, we still have to work with our stuff. We still have to work with the shadow side, but it does feel less heavy, and it does feel more dynamic, that things can move. And it does feel like a good Sar'h year as well. Like I said, she's not here yet fully yet, but she's here more than she ever has been. And she's in all of the spheres. And like, over the years, I've developed working with her emotion techniques, mental techniques, physical, energetic, etheric, everything. So starting on the 6th of February, I'm offering a online coaching group. So please write to me if you're interested in doing that. It will be at this time every Tuesday, somewhere near the beginning of the month. And I'm going to offer some bonuses with that, all of the Sar'h activations, and all of the 4-part series of coming into Sarah's embrace, because they would be really, really good for people who really want to work with Sar'h and really make some shifts and transformations in their life. Because if you work with Sar'h, it really does stuff. It really, really does stuff. Shit happens, man, in a good way, you know? Let me just see, I can see a couple more. Oh, someone's put it there. Ted Andrews, Sacred Power in Your Name, using your name for personal empowerment and healing paperback. So let's see how we're doing. It's time for us to move into Sarah's presence. The second half of this year, it's going to be a lot of blue rose stuff. There'll be a bit of blue rose stuff on the retreat. I can't sort of keep it separate anymore from my Sar'h work. It just seems to pop up here and there and everywhere, but I'll just very quickly show you. We've got a Healing the Witch Wound workshop with the Blue Rose lineage in May. More techniques for healing with the Blue Rose flame. I was going to do that in March and then realized that I can't because it's so deep, these energies for the retreat. I'm just totally immersed in that until April. We got some more activations coming second half of the year. There'll be another free webinar on the Blue Rose in June, like we did last year, another 5 months training for the Blue Rose lineage. And I'll also be teaching Healing with Sar'h and the Angels. We have 2 Sar'h teachers, the lovely Louise and Suzanne. They do the basic initiations of the first 3 energies, which are just gorgeous. And then I teach the practitioners class. So, right, I'm not talking anymore now, apart from to do a meditation, I promise you. So get yourself nice and comfortable. I'm just going to light another candle. So when I bring in Sarah's presence, I have a special, this is my special Sarah's presence. And so when we call in Sarah's presence, we come in to oneness. So close your eyes as long as you're somewhere where you can do that safely. Take some nice deep breaths. And just have that image of yourself as the chalice, as Sar'h is the chalice, the Holy Grail, and of having been emptied out. And when we invite Sarah's presence into ourselves, her archetypal power that she has, her archetypal force, actually acts on us. So we fill up with ourselves. So we invite Sarah in, and her catalytic presence causes us to fill up with our own spirit and our own soul. And one way we can do this is to imagine that Sarah's presence is above our heads. And I've often imagined this as like a little mini vortex of energy that represents Sarah. And so I invite her in through my crown chakra, and you can do that as well. And imagine that Sarah's presence is starting to very gently flow into you now through your crown chakra. And if it feels good to you, feels comfortable, invite her in to flow down very gently and very slowly through the whole of your energy system, down through your head, down through your brow chakra, down through your throat. And you might notice that as this happens, you can feel your body and your mind and everything just starting to slow down a little bit. You might feel even more in contact with your body. Like you can notice yourself more physically. You can feel the heaviness and comfort that's in your physical body as Sarah's presence comes down through your heart chakra, your solar plexus chakra. It's almost like she's just dropping in very gently, deeper and deeper. There's a weight and a heaviness to it that's lovely, you know, because it's her presence. It's her presence that's coming in. Down to the sacral and the root chakra. Down through your legs, down through your feet, all the way down into the earth. Until the whole of your body, the whole of your aura, all of your energy bodies are now filled with Sarah's presence. And when we sit in Sarah's presence in this way, we start to come more into balance, into harmony, into wholeness. Sarah's energy of oneness integrates all that is. The bits of ourselves that we've lost come towards us and are integrated with our inner love and our inner wisdom. And Sarah offers us this invitation. And I've got lots of techniques like this in Sarah's little book of healing. If you want to go into it more, she shows you how to work with your shadow sides and healing. It's Sarah's beautiful presence that makes all of this possible. She's such an underused resource, and it's why she's stepping forward now. It's our time, it's her time to come together. And she's offering you an invitation. If you feel called to work with her, whether it's through just calling her in, calling her presence in, you could make a special candle that's your Sarah candle. I see her presence as gold. You might see it in another colour. You could get a gold candle or a golden candle holder like I have. And just give yourself that gift of basking in her presence, knowing that you're coming into her Holy Grail, sitting in the alchemical cup of healing, of forgiveness and rest and rejuvenation. All is well, all is well, all is well. And Sarah's extending that invitation from me to come and experience Sarah coaching, experience the Sarah magic, monthly coaching once a month. If you want to work with these things personally for your own life issues, whatever they are, in a group. And if you really, really want to get deep to it, come to Glastonbury. And just imagine now that you're holding Sarah's hand, that she's standing there by the side of you. And she's showing you the tour. She's manifesting the tour and Chalice Hill. So the tour is on the higher hill, and Chalice Hill is the smaller hill, but actually holds that beautiful divine feminine energy. Chalice Hill has an etheric temple, a Magdalene healing temple inside of it. It's incredible. And for me, that's the real magic, because I love the divine feminine stuff. And Sarah's showing you that imprint of the chalice glowing within the hill, glowing within Chalice Hill. You can see the light there. And for some moments now, you are being basked in that light, that beautiful light from the chalice in Glastonbury, and Chalice Hill is glowing all around you, all around you, all around you. Bringing you some beautiful energy for 2024 and all of that which is ahead, all the excitement and challenges, the highs and the lows, the balance and the healing. You're bathed in this beautiful light of the chalice, holding Sarah's hand. Sarah's with you, sister, teacher, guide, mentor, ascended master for the new age of Aquarius. All is well, all is well, all is well. Just let yourself rest there for a few more moments. And know that you can call on Sarah's presence anytime you want to, whenever you need a bit of restful rejuvenation, call Sarah's presence in. It affects all of your energy bodies, your DNA, the lot. Sarah is in all of the dimensions, from the bottom to the top. And just gently start to let that image go, let that energy go, knowing you can come back whenever you need it. And for good measure, put a layer of Sarah's lilac violet flame all the way around your energy body, has a strong protection around it, and feel yourself coming back into your normal levels of awareness, coming back to full consciousness now, grounding, grounding, grounding down through your feet, root yourself into the ascended Gaia, and all is well. All is well, all is well. Oh, I hope you enjoyed that. I have run 7 minutes over. I can just give a few minutes to questions. So if you need to go, please, you're welcome to leave. If anybody has questions, if you want to just stay, I can unmute everybody. And thank you all for coming. Oh, you have to unmute yourself anyway. Does anybody want to say anything?
Yes, I would share something.
Yes.
Yes. So maybe I switch my background. And I'm connected with the Holy Family, Mary Magdalene and Sandra. Sorry, Sar'h. I had a call from Sandra. Sar'h via a painting. Yes, I'm channeling via painting and also doing light body work in form of a Hawaiian massage, Ho'oponopono Lomi Lomi. And I painted, she came just to me like this. Maybe you have got an idea. Because you're connected with Sar'h for such a long time already. Yeah, Sar'h came to me in the last 2 years. And it's not about hearing voices. It's an inner knowing, like ideas. And in this moment, I know, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and I always get information from outs from physical plane too, that I see, yes, that confirms what I felt. And Sar'h came to me like this. I stayed in south of France at a beautiful retreat house, and there she came to me like this with a goat. Nourishing aspect. I just wanted to bring it in if you got some connection.
I mean, if you send me a photo, I can tune into it and see.
I will do. I
Yeah.
will send on Messenger on Facebook.
Yeah. Also, we have a Facebook group. Yeah. If you
I
could do a post, put a picture of it up. That'd be great, because then everyone else can see it and enjoy it, and also see what, you know, what is said as well. People really enjoy the discussion around it. That's a great idea. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I offer a group journey in May for also Mary Magdalene, and afterwards I will go Glastonbury. But you are located in Denmark?
Yeah. I married a Dane. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone, or anything you want to share? No, I'd answered all your questions. Cheryl, you must have something you want to say.
I do.
I knew it.
I've known Rachel for quite a while now, and she's the one who introduced me to Sar'h. And I've been so grateful for everything. And I'm stepping into now sharing my gifts. Again, a lot of challenges, and I'm getting there. I'm really, really close. And this webinar was just so beautiful because, I mean, the way you express Sar'h, the way she comes through is just amazing. And when you work with her, it's even more amazing. The things that happen, I mean, the opportunities that arise. And I'm going to be honest, it's not easy. I mean, there are times when you do go through those dark times, but for the most part, it's worth it because they're always there to help you move forward, to get through the challenges. And Sar'h and the Holy Family, I've opened that connection. I've accepted it, because before it was always, oh, I'm here and they're there, but they're not there.
No.
They're here.
Mm.
They're right here within.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate about all of this. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Cheryl. Lovely to see you.
Same here.
Nikki, I saw you waving. Nikki Mariana.
Hello, yes.
Hi.
Just to thank you for an amazing recap with some new information about Sar'h and Glastonbury. And my process of working with Sar'h has been since your first group, and very gradually all the way through, picking up more, learning more as I'm able to. And you made things for me so much clearer today as to why my journey may be a slow one compared with a lot of people, as to why my prompts are through physical, not wellness, I don't know how to describe it really, but also I've forgotten a lot of what I'd learned, or it's somewhere way in the back of my mind, and it's fantastic to be reminded. And thank you. And that meditation was lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
The energy was
I was
so clear.
almost dying for it at the end. I know you're not supposed to say things like that, but you know, it's like, oh God, please now. I just want to stop talking and just sink down into these energies. And I also, you know, no pun on the dying, but I'm really interested in working with the process of dying, and it's something that I work with a lot. Here and there when I get a free moment, but also the thing about ill health, like as a new age community, we have a bit of a thing about like it's a failure if you get ill, and I'm like, you know, it's like it's almost unwritten and almost unconscious, but we do have that attitude. There's so much to be got out of our own illness processes, you know. It's like, let's drop all that guilt and shame around it. And like I've said this before, when I read the tree book that a German guy wrote, I think he said forests, all trees get ill at some point. You get some trees that get more ill than others, and you get some trees that have more sap than they need, and they all send each other what's needed, and it's all just basically just part of forest life. And I was like, oh, you know, it just made some sense to me on some sort of nature level that helped me release feeling bad about getting ill and having health issues, you know, because it's like, oh, how can I teach all this stuff if I have health issues? And it's like, I mean, yeah, let's just let go of all that guilt and shame, really. Yeah.
It took me a long time to let go of the shame, and I should be able to do better.
Yeah.
But once I tune into something that is causing me any sort of distress or pain, there is always a gift within that. And it's something I wouldn't have seen any other way.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'd love it to be an easier way, but hey, I guess I've now accepted this is the way that my body does it.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I just listen to it and question it and ask, what can I do to help this part of my body and to integrate it with the rest?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's something I do hope to do some more work and teaching with on it at some point, because I think there's a lot there. But thank you, Nikki Marin. It's lovely to see you. And
thank you, and you.
Barry, can I just ask you, as a resident of Glastonbury, how did you find that webinar?
Well, it's a bit strange sitting here when you're talking about it. Yeah, it's fascinating just living here and seeing the groups and the work that comes and goes. And I guess probably when you live here, you feel more of oh, my dog's going to start barking, feel more of the darkness and the underbelly as well. Whereas I think when you come as a group and you visit, your energy is set much higher, and you go straight in, you know,
Yeah.
to all the amazing earth energies. So I sometimes think actually coming and visiting and doing retreats here is actually the best way to experience it.
Yeah. I empathize with you with that. I really noticed it when I was living there.
Yeah. Or it is a place where you come and then you just have to expect everything to go into that kind of chaos and breakdown.
Yeah,
That's what it does, you know, it churns and it transforms. And
yeah. But this is it. There's so much energy running through power places.
Yeah.
These issues crop up, and as you know, like I'm a person who works with earth energies. It's, you know, it happens in all places, and this is one of the things we would have done once upon a time, was do much more energy work. I sense with these power places, because we would have been much more like keyed in. And I suppose I'm sort of thinking, you know, I'm going back to like ancient civilizations, or even maybe different planets, you know, but I have this very clear knowing of, we can sort all this out when we get to the point of the human race where we know how to manage it, you know, because you can't run that much energy and not have these problems.
No, there was an Indigenous leader came, I can't remember which one it was, and he said we were all crazy for living here, that it was indeed a very sacred place, but this is the sort of place you come on pilgrimage and you shouldn't live here.
Oh, fancy that.
Yeah, he said they would never live here. It's too sacred, so you never live on sacred land like that.
Yeah.
It's where you go and you do ceremony, but also that you're just crazy to try and live on it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Anyway.
Thank you for that. Is there anything anybody else would like to say or share before we finish today? No? Right. Been lovely. Take care, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.